Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this presentation, my group will discuss about the Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin from Imam Al-Ghazali. In this presentation, we will discuss about three main topics, which is the first one is vision of Imam Al-Ghazali in Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin, and the comparison of Al-Ghazali's and Ibn Miskawai discussion about akhlaq. And then we will discuss about the content of Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin from the aspect of adab. And then we will talk about one specific topic with their elaboration and share.
Definition of Imam Al-Ghazali in Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin. Definition of Akhlaq. Imam Al-Ghazali in Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin, Akhlaq comes from the words of Al-Khulqu, occurrence, and Al-Khulqu, morality or behavior, meaning Al-Khulqu is the outward form and Al-Khuluqu is the inner form. This is because human beings are made up of a body that can be seen with the naked eye and elements of spirit and soul that can only be seen with the eyes of the heart. Next, types of akhlaq. Imam Al-Ghazali divided akhlaq into two types, good akhlaq, mahmudah, and bad akhlaq, which is mazmumah. In Ihya Ulumuddin, Imam Al-Ghazali discussed akhlaq that destroy, muhlikat, and akhlaq that save, munjiyat. Last, good akhlaq. In Kitab Ihya Ulumuddin also, Imam Al-Ghazali explains about 26 types of people with good akhlaq. For instance, feeling ashamed of doing bad things, always be kind to others, and speak honestly. Comparison of Al-Ghazali and Ibn Miskaweh discussion about akhlaq. Al-Ghazali Al-Ghazali's concept of akhlaq refers more to the sources of Al-Quran and Al-Hadith. Al-Ghazali also discussed morality in an internal and in-depth manner with the functions and duties of each aspect. Ibn Miskaweh's concept of akhlaq refers more about the reasoning and thinking of Greek philosophers. Ibn Miskawes also explained externally and the behavior that emerged from that aspects. Last, about similarity between Al-Ghazali and Ibn Miskaweh. The ultimate goal of human life is for the happiness of this world and the hereafter. Therefore, humans must practice good deeds to achieve that goal. In terms of akhlaq formation, Al-Ghazali and Miskaweh both discuss goodness, which is al-khair, excellence al-fadail, happiness al-sa'adah, and perfection al-kamal.
Next, we will go to adab of reciting Al-Quran. In this chapter, where about adab of reciting Al-Quran, Imam Al-Ghazali highlighted four things. Where first is about the advantages of Quran and about people who adhere to the Quran. So, in my explanation, where Ibnu Mas'ud said, none of you should be asked about himself except the Quran, where this is because if he loves the Quran, then he really loves Allah. And if he hates the Quran, then he actually hates Allah and his messenger. So the key point of first thing that Imam Al-Ghazali highlighted is the advantages of the Quran and about people who adhere to the Quran, where we call it Ahlul Quran. Second things that Imam Al-Ghazali highlighted is about manner when reading the Quran. So there are 10 things highlighted in this chapter. For example, is about reader condition, whether the reader is in wudu or maybe not taking wudu before reading the Quran, reciting the Quran. Other than that is about the preserve the right of the verse, which is, for example, when we read a verse that have sujud tilawah symbol, so we need to do sujud tilawah. So that's mean by we preserve the right of the verse. The other example is about the number of reading. So it actually about amount of the verse that you read in a day or about in a month. Actually, we can call it about how long that we can take how long it took for us to khatam the whole Quran. Khatam the whole Quran. Okay. Next, we go to the third things that Imam Al-Ghazali highlighted in Adab of Reciting Al-Quran about inner practice when reading the Quran. So inside inner practice when reading the Quran, there are also 10 things that Imam Al-Ghazali highlighted in this chapter where about inner practice is first we can say it about tadabbur. So during we recite Al-Quran, we actually need to do tadabbur, understand what is actually Allah try to send what is actually Allah try to us understand inside this verse, and also try to understand about all the in I'm sorry, and also we understand about what Allah tried to remind us in that verse that we recite. Lastly, is about understanding and interpreting the Quran with opinion, thoughts, and so on. In this thing, where there are many different views on how to understand and tafsir Al Quran, one of it way is by one of it is by we divided the Quran. Although there are many way we divided the Quran. Maybe we divided Quran by two. So maybe the first part we will translate and tafsir the first part, and then we will go to the second part. But there are also other views where we can divide the Quran by four parts. Okay.
Adab of eating and drinking. There are three chapters in this adab. First, rules of eating alone. The rules of eating alone are three kinds: rules before eating, rules at the time of eating, and rules after eating. Chapter 2, rules of eating with others. There are 7 rules in this chapter. Firstly, if you are with an elderly or honorable man, wait until he starts eating before you start. Second, don't keep quiet while eating. Engage in conversation instead. Third, do not wish to consume more food than your pulp. Fourth, eat in such a way that you are not constantly telling your body to eat, and eat what you usually do. It is no fault for one to wash hand in the dish and for all in the same pot. Next, when eating with others, one shouldn't watch them eat. And lastly, one should avoid acting in a way that would embarrass them in front of their friends. In chapter 3, rules of entertaining guests. There are 6 rules of entertainment of guests, which is to invite, to accept invitation, to attend at the invitation, to present food, to take meal, and to depart.
Next, we go to adab of marriage, where in this adab of marriage, Imam Ghazali highlighted three things. First is about the advantages of marriage. Second is about the principle and condition of marriage, and the prohibition of marriage. And lastly is about the social ethic after marriage. So we will go through it by one. So the first thing is about the advantages of marriage. So about the advantages of marriage, before I go through the advantages of marriage, I want to share about ulama point of view about priority of marriage. So ulama have different view about priority of marriage, where the first view is about where they said marriage is more prioritized than worship toward Allah. That is the first view. The second view is uh, where they agree that marriage is also one kind of priority, but either marriage and worship toward Allah, the most important is worship toward Allah. But they agree that marriage is also one kind of priority. And then instead, we go through the advantages of marriage. The advantages of marriage, there are five benefits of marriage. Five benefits of marriage, where inside marriage, there are we can get the first benefit is we can get children. Second is we destroy nafsu, very nafs. And then we can also arrange household, raise a family, and also the husband can also delete the women. For the second part is the principle and condition of marriage and the prohibition of marriage. There are 19 conditions of prohibition of marriage where we can set that. For example, is the women that still iddah, so they can't get married until the iddah is over. The third one is social ethic after marriage. In this chapter, a husband needs to maintain moderation and ethic in 12 things. For example, is a husband need to do a feast during wedding festival, during your wedding. Maybe also, and also the husband should do a joke. Actually, it's a joke between a husband and a wife. Other than that, we can also inside the husband also should be moderate in jealousy, where jealousy is actually scary things. Where if the husband not be moderate in jealousy, so it can turn into a bad situation. And also, a husband should taught his wife about salat or also recited Quran or many more. So actually, adab of marriage is conclude about more to the what husband should do and what the women should prepare before marriage. So that if from the point of view of the woman, so women in uh, rukun and syarat sah for marriage is four, where is first is guardian permission, second is women validation, third one is two witnesses, and fourth is ijab and kabul.
Next adab is adab of earning and subsistence, which is in Arabic is al-adabu, al-kasbu, wal-ma'ash. There are 5 topics in this adab. The first one is earning, or looking for risk and move to earn the risk. The summary of this topic is about we need or try to find the halal risk. We are forbidden to beg from others. The second topic is about knowledge about the legal buy and muamalah in Islam, which is about riba, salam, ijarah, company loan based on Islam, and more. The third topic is about al-adlu in muamalah, which is we need to avoid the zalim in muamalah and avoid ihtikar and also do not bring the poverty to others. The fourth topic is about ihsan in muamalah. We should do the good things and don't be cruel, and also do not trick the customer about the measure, weight, and so on. And the last topic is about compassion, the sellers to themselves and deen. Seller need to put the compassion in their self, and also seller should have good faith and akidah, do fardu kifayah, not omit the deen, always zikr to our zikr, and remember to Allah. Do not be greedy, avoid something haram and shubha, do the muamalah rightly with the sharia. So that's all for the adab of earning and subsistence.
In Kitab of Adab of Kindness, Brotherhood, Friendship and Association with all kinds of people, they have 3 types of chapter. First, chapter 1, it talk about the advantages of compassion and brotherhood in the way of Allah, the conditions, degrees and benefits. While chapter 2, the rights of friendships, manners, reality and all its necessities. While the last one in chapter 3, it talk about the rights of Muslims, family, neighbors and slaves, on by them, and how to associate with people who has been afflicted with these reasons. While Hotima from the chapter, if you want good company, then meet your friends and enemies with a willing face without insulting them or scoring them. And then, when you're entering an assembly, the etiquette is to start with salam. And the last one, joking kills the heart, keeps away from the Allah, makes negligence and inherits humiliation.
Next, Ihya Ulumuddin also, Imam Ghazali talk about Adabul Uzla or seclusion. At first, in this chapter, he discussed about the view of ulama about seclusion. Some of ulama tend to reject the seclusion and some of them prioritize seclusion. Second part in this chapter is the important part that Imam Ghazali discussed, which is the benefit of seclusion or uzla. He bring out six benefits of seclusion. One of the benefit is seclusion helps someone to be near to Allah. He can devoting himself to worship Allah without any disturbance. Besides, in seclusion, someone can be spread from the sin that are often committed in get along with the community like giba, riya, and be silent from amar ma'ruf nahi munkar. Next, the last part in this chapter is about Imam Ghazali discuss the dangers of seclusion and the truth in prioritizing seclusion, which is he talk about who can do seclusion, what is the rules or adab in seclusion, and what is more important between seclusion and get along with community.
Next, about Adab of Journey. In this book of Ihya Ulumuddin, Imam Ghazali have give two meanings of journey, which is the first one is physical journey from one's native place to a distant country, and the second meaning of journey is a mental or spiritual journey to a God in heaven. And this in this Adab of Journey, Imam Al-Ghazali have highlight two rules, which is the first one is rules of journey from beginning to end. He has explained about journey for acquisition. A knowledge is of two kinds, which is compulsory and optional, and journey for correction on one's character and conduct. And the last one is journey for seeing the wonderful creation of God. And the second rules to be observed in journey, which is has he has explained about pay compensation of oppression and the debt and loan, which is take lawful and good things for the journey and take sufficient money so that you may help others also in their needs while you have in your journey. The second one is take good companion in journey, and the third one take leave of relatives and friends, and pray istikhara prayer before starting your journey, and recite this incubation at the door or dua at the door of the house before coming out the journey, which is Bismillah tawakkaltu ala Allah la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. And the next one is come out in the morning for journey and not to alight except in the midday is sunnah. And in rules to be observed in journey, don't separate yourself from the company as you may be murdered, which is if there are two companions, one should guide the other, okay. And the second last, which is to show mercy to a riding animal and don't give load to it beyond its capacity. And the last one is rules of returning from the journey. So that's all.
Adab of listening and the effect on the heart. According to Imam Al-Ghazali, the heart is obedient to listening. What is heard and what is kept secret in the heart both influence how the heart feels. This adab consists two chapters. The first chapter is about the necessity of the listening. This chapter talk about the scholars' disagreement about the necessity of listening to song and revealing the truth about it. This chapter also talks about the words of jurisprudence scholars and Sufism scholars about its legalization and prohibition. The second chapter talks about the formal listening to the song and the adab. There are 5 adab of listening. The first one is keeping track of time, location, and friends. Second, concentrate on the speaker. Third, value the information delivered by the speaker. The next adab is sit politely and keep your voice down. And the last one is stand up if there is a need to stand up.
Next, the one of the topic that Imam Al-Ghazali also discussed in Ihya Ulumuddin is character and conduct of Prophet, which is there is a few subtopic which is Prophet leaning to the Quran, Prophet character and conduct through Hadith, Prophet good manner, words and laughter, manners in eating, how Prophet manners in dress, how the Prophet pardon, and objects of dislike. For example, in the Prophet learning through the Quran, it discussed about how the akhlaq of the Prophet in Quran and how Allah loved good manner and had bad manners. And also in the subtopic Prophet's manners in eating, he tells that what is the kind of food that the Prophet like and how he sit while eating. There's also a few topic that in the character and conduct of Prophet, which is Prophet generosity, Prophet bravery and heroism, Prophet modesty and humility, Prophet figure and constitution, and Prophet miracle, which is a mujizat from the Allah. For example, in the Prophet's had modesty and humility, explain how Nabi Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is humble and modest, which is there is a hadith or explanation that the Prophet gives salam and salute to children when passing by them.
So now we will be moving on to one chapter in the Ihya Ulumuddin, which is Rules of Eating and Drinking in details. Now we go to Rules of Eating alone. In this part, there are 3 sections. The first one, Adab before eating, and then Adab at the time of eating, and the third one, Adab after eating. First, we go to Adab before eating. The food must be lawful, and then we must wash our hand. The third one, food must place on the ground because it shows a sign of humility. And then we must take our food by sitting straight because the Prophet said to eat leaning is bad for stomach. The fifth one, we should make niyah before eating. For example, I eat to gain strength in worship. The sixth one, we must be satisfied with the food served. And the last one, the more the people to partake the food, the better, because the Prophet said, eat all together as there is blessings in it. As for at the time of eating, as usual, we must recite Bismillah and end it by reciting Alhamdulillah and eat with our right hand. The third one, we must not speak of the defect of cooking because the Prophet never did it. When he liked a food, he ate, and when he did not like it, he did not eat it. The fourth one, take food from our nearest side, and then do not wipe out your hands with handkerchief until you lick your finger, because you don't know in which food there is blessing. The sixth one, do not blow on hot food. Be patient until it becomes cold. And the last one, eat odd number of dates, grapes, and other fruits which can be counted. As for after eating, we must stop eating before we feeling full and lick up our fingers before wash them. We should also lift up the remnants of food and express gratefulness to Allah. Next, I will share about rules of eating with others. There are 6 rules of eating with others. The first one, if there is any elderly or honorable man with you, do not begin eating until he begins first. Second, do not remain silent at the time of eating and hold talks with your friends or your companion. Third, do not eat more than your friend unless your friend allow it. Fourth, eat according to your habits. This means that do not eat too much and do not eat too little, just moderate. The fifth one, do not look at your friends and spy on them eating. The last one, do not do anything that appears bad to your friends or your companion. Moving on to the rules of entertaining the guests. There are 4 items in this part, which is the first one to invite and to accept invitation, second to attend invitation, third to present food, the last one to depart. Now we will go through adab to invite and to accept invitations, in which there are 5 rules of accepting invitations. Number 1, do not distinguish invitation between the poor and the rich. Number 2, invitation should not be refused because of distance. And number 3, do not refuse invitation just because you are fasting. Number 4, do not accept any invitation where you know or doubt that the foods are unlawfully earned, meaning shubhah will be served or irreligious acts will be performed. Lastly, do not accept any invitation for the satisfaction of your belly. Instead, intend to gain strength for acquiring merit. As for adab to attend the invitation, there are 2 things that we need to know, which are do's and don'ts. We will go through do's first. First thing first, if there is any fixed place for you, sit there. Do not sit anywhere else. Second, entertain one who sits by your side and hold talk with him. Third, if you see anything opposed to Sharia, remove it if you are able to do it. If not, just go away. Then we will go to don'ts. First, do not sit in the middle place and occupy the space. Second, do not make delay in attending an invitation because the guest may be waiting for you. Third, do not attend it before the fixed time as the host may not prepare food beforehand. Then, do not make others feel inconvenienced around you. Lastly, do not look towards the place where food comes because it is against good manners. Meanwhile, there are 4 adab in presenting food, starting with serving food before a guest without a delay, serving the best food, making sure that we have a sufficient quantity of food, and also making sure we do not leave the food before the guests have finished eating. Last but not least, adab to depart, starting with give them farewell with complete honor, and then a guest should not leave without the permission from the host. Lastly, if you are a guest, do not reside with the host for more than 3 days. The Prophet said hospitality is for 3 days, and if it exceeds that, it will be considered as an act of charity. If the host requests the guest to stay longer with a sincere heart, it is lawful for him to stay. That's all from our group. Thank you.